ubiquitous information, right? If you're in the information business and you can see into all the uses of this and the potential uses of it, it's very exciting. To a lot of people, it still feels scary. There's an emotional aspect.
Of course, because there's stuff happening that you don't have any control over. And I think a lot of this depends on your view of humankind. What we've seen is that communities of content are largely self-policing. When somebody posts an inappropriate piece of content, other people flag it within seconds. To me, these are many, many examples of the fundamental principle that the average person is a good person in trying to make the world a better place, which I think is why I think we should be very optimistic about the next few decades. That the various global challenges, which we all know, are largely information problems, and that they can be solved with more transparent access, broader groups, and so forth and so on. In most countries, by the way, and again, we're spoiled here in the West because we have, pretty well-run and pretty legitimate and pretty honest governments. There are plenty of governments where the primary problem is one of corruption. What's the best way to solve corruption? Use an e-commerce solution for procurement. Use the mobile phone for payment. So now all of a sudden, all of the extra little payments and structures become exposed. And so again, the internet can serve as a discipline on the governments to become more honest, as well as an opportunity for their citizens to express themselves, learn, and educate, and so forth.
So in a lot of talks and speeches, there are so many numbers and figures about things doubling and growing exponentially in scale and storage and speed and all those sorts of things. But do you, just on a clean slate, what do you see out there, if anything, that seems non-continuous, that feels disruptive in a way that's not incremental?
Well, first place, it's largely, mathematically it's a geometric progression, right? Basically, Moore's law means that you're doubling every roughly 2 years. So do a little math. So over 10 years, doubling every 2 years is on the order of 30-ish times of improvement. So your phone is 30 times faster, your phone is 30 times cheaper. And I should mention, by the way, that the phone is the primary development artifact going forward. Historically, people were primarily focused on mainframes and then time-sharing machines and then personal computers and browsers. And really, the next generation of interesting apps will all be phone-based with these powerful browsers and so forth that are being built. And obviously, we have our Android platform, and the iPhone platform is very good, and the other folks as well. So the fact of the matter is all of the really, really clever stuff is going to happen on those platforms because there's so many of them. It's a large market. So in that particular case, what happens is you have the geometric nature of Moore's law, so factor of 10 and factor of 30 in roughly 10 years, which means that in 20 years, it's a factor of 1,000. So again, hopefully all of us will be alive in 20 years. You can do the math. It's a big, big change. I don't think people can't really do that math in their head. So that's point one. Second thing, you're on the non-math side. We hired you.
I have to tell you, if you ever come and work at Google, when this sort of do the math with me thing happens, this is what you do.
Okay, thank you, Andy. I didn't know that was what you have been doing for the last few years. So anyway, so you have the basic Moore's law progression. But then you have other things. So you have the rate of adoption of broadband, which is some number, 30, 40% per year in terms of growth rates, depending on what studies that you, and it's continued because people want the same things globally. They want all the information and fun and all of that. And governments are largely doing the right thing. They're focusing on 10 megabit, 20 megabit, 100 megabit, and eventually gigabit solutions, which change everything. Then you have one more thing, which is you have a multiplier, which again you have to, and I'll help you here, you have to multiply these growth rates together. You don't add them, you multiply them, because they compound at the same rate, okay? So then the other thing that happens is you have...
we all have different skills, Eric.
Okay, I got it. Okay. I'll help you with the formula offline. In any case, so now what you do is you add the social component. So your network of friends, the activities that you're doing, and that's also growing at a significant rate. So again, the sum of those is what's producing what looks like these exceptional things. They can be dissected. They can be understood as just this thing's growing fast, this thing's growing fast, this thing's growing fast. Almost all revolutions are really evolutionary in nature, that the underlying pieces were there. And when they come together in these multiplications,
Right.
boom, it looks like, and for the average person, it goes like, oh my God, the world just changed.
I followed that. I did. Okay, let's talk about Google a bit, put that in context. So as tech races forward and on all fronts at the same time, how does Google keep up?
Well, Google has always been run in a bottoms-up way, and the basic idea is that you can't centrally plan this kind of compounding that I'm describing, but you can find engineers, product managers, creative people who have a product idea that's something that they want. They want to solve some problem. And I think ultimately that's how these consumer-centric companies are really moving forward. Somebody has a problem they want to solve. That's something that's obvious to them. They see that they can take all this data. I mean, the classic example is many people wanted to build voice translation, simultaneous voice translation, so we can now do talking to the phone in English and it comes out in German on the other side. It's not as good as what a human translator would do, but it's an extraordinary accomplishment.